Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the IRS Expansion bill, which is really a significant proportion of the Build Back Better reconciliation monkey shines of Schumer and Joe Manchin. I'm going to explain this here in some depth. Link in the description, archived of course. You're talking about effectively a doubling of the IRS. Now, what we've been told, with regard to Biden pitched this initially, Schumer and Manchin have pitched it since then, of course, working in secret behind closed doors for literally months for the right moment to drop this massively inflationary bill, which is exactly why they chose this particular moment to unveil it and push it forward, because, of course, the inflation, the extra taxes and stuff, they don't show up for a while, and so it doesn't impact the midterms. It gives the Democrats something to run on without those same Democrats noticing, oh shit, I just got audited. Oh shit, my taxes just rose. Hey, bureaucratic bloat increased. Now there's less jobs. They put two and two together, but it won't be until it's too late. Doubling the IRS, supposedly, according to the Bidenomics strategy that's employed here, is to recoup the loss for the bill itself. So you're absorbing a huge cost up front, which, by the way, causes inflation. It's taxpayer money that you're using. You're printing out more money, devaluing and watering down the currency. The idea, though, is that then you can go after more of the tax cheats, and he assures us if you're not making like $500,000 a year more, you're not in the club that's going to be audited and stuff. Trying to tell the little people, don't worry. We're not interested in going after someone that made $300,000 and whittled a little bit off the side or didn't have their receipt to Home Depot. I'm here to tell you that the real reason for it is to go after dissidents. So if you're critical of the regime, you might get audited for that. Maybe you should take less deductions in this tax season and make double sure to have triple backups of all of your receipts so that you can prove your case when you likely get sued by the IRS. Or maybe they won't sue you. Maybe they'll just take some of those automatic weapons that they've bought up over the last few years and they'll show up and kick down your door at 6 a.m. and then they'll give you the bill for the time. This is sort of how the weaponized IRS has been operating. I guess the idea is that the most hated bureaucracy in the entire nation needs to be doubled in its overall scope and power. To go after how many people? Here's the problem. The math doesn't add up. If you're talking about just people that are in the 1%, you are talking about a very small proportion of the population. Only a small proportion of those people are actually going to tax cheat. Only a small proportion of those tax cheats are going to do anything significant with regards to funny numbers, like ledger fixing or anything like that. The idea that you can hire 80,000 new bureaucrats who start out at reasonable salaries and often make more than that, the idea that that can be recouped by going after that slim minority of the population is ludicrous. So number one, it won't be on a paying basis. The math doesn't add up. Multiple economists and banks have looked at the numbers here, and they've all claimed that it doesn't add up. Number two, you'd be hiring too many agents for that group of people, even if you went after every single one of them. So of necessity, unless you want them sitting there twiddling their thumbs, at some point they're going to have to go after other suspected tax cheats. What you're going to have is a doubling of audits. It's obviously not just going to impact the people at higher incomes. There may be a disproportionate swing towards that because if there is tax fraud and someone's making $10 million a year, it's likely to be larger than someone that made 30 or 40K. That's inarguable. But the agents wouldn't even have enough work to do. Secondly is the business tax proposal. The idea of, well, we're going to close one of these corporate tax loopholes and go after that too. The problem being effectively what you're doing is you're making it impossible for small business investors and entrepreneurs to actually grow things by a massive upping of taxes that will apply to people who have invested, in many cases, their own money. So this isn't just going to be Corporation Incorporated that invested $100 million and is now siphoning off capital gains and making money hand over fist, and preferably reinvesting it into more growth, thus creating more jobs and growing the economy. Even though that's not negative either, that's not going to be the only impact of the tax provisions that are here. It also affects Joe and Susie, who said, you know what, we've been operating this fucking lemonade stand here for a while. We seem to have a good thing of it. Everyone loves our lemonade. We're going to take out a loan, and we're going to invest, and we're going to make a lemonade brewery. We're going to employ people, and we're not going to sell it on the street anymore. We're going to have our own business front. we'll have a franchise, maybe we'll expand, maybe there'll be, 100 lemonade-only restaurants, all of the ingredients are lemon. Well, we have a cookbook, 101 ways to eat a lemon. They too, once they begin making money, get hammered by this. That's a small business. It might have 5 employees to begin. They're still going to get hammered too. The problem is this is going to make it much harder for them to ever expand, even if they have a good thing. They have a good idea, they have a good location, they have a good income, but most of it's going to be pissed away back towards the government. Government effectively is going to be taxing well above 50% virtually any entrepreneurial endeavor. So this is a tax and tax scheme that can't help but slow down the economy. I guess the silver lining is it'll deflate things eventually by holding back economic growth. It almost seems like that's more of the point. That and going after the middle class tax cheats. Well, I mean, how much does it cost for the IRS agent to even push around the paperwork to begin the auditing process and all the lawyers and shit that they have to do to go after someone because they're suspected of writing off $10,000 that they didn't actually have owed them as a deduction? You're going to end up with those cases. So it's going to be a massive pile of shit. And this is always what Build Back Better was about. Another portion of the reconciliation bill is investments into green energy. This will create jobs. We tried this several times before. The most famous case was Solyndra. The fact is that the government's not good at centralized investment. Unless it keeps pumping the business with money to keep it afloat artificially, it eventually collapses. That's because if I've got a government grant, Build Back Better kicks in. I've got a solar factory or something. Can't compete with China normally because no one wants to buy American because it comes from China anyway, and I'm just flipping it at a loss to them. Generally speaking, it's literally what's happening with the U.S.-based solar firms. I get this investment, I expand, and I can advertise further, keep the demand up and stuff, but I need the government teat in order to actually stay afloat. I'm not solvent otherwise. If that money ever disappears, all of a sudden I'm deep in the red. Then you lose those jobs. Maybe the business collapses outright. I've got no reason to worry quite so much about making a profit or creating a long-term profitable framework for the business, making things efficient, trying to make sure the budget's balanced because the taxpayers are funding part of it. This is a problem, by the way, in China as well. If you look at the difference between businesses that are taking government money and their long-term success return rate, it's pitiful. It's like 15-20%. If you look at the businesses that take advantage of the semi-privatized mixed model that China has, and they don't take government money, they're doing it themselves through the banking system or whatever, even with all the interventionism, their success rate approaches 50%. It's still not necessarily great, but it's much, much higher, especially over the intermediate and long term. Those products and works that they're creating actually create a long-term income. That's because there's a profit motive. They get more of the profit for themselves. Government's not involved. They want to deliver for shareholders, etc., because otherwise they get shit canned. If it's a government grant, as long as you're good with the CCP, you don't get shit canned. Oh, the project didn't work out? Well, on to the next project. That's basically how it works. It's basically a Chinification of the United States when you really think about it. That's about all. Peace out.